What I wanted to talk about today is thought leadership. And thought leadership is like the halo on the content marketing. It's going a little bit beyond what most of your competitors are going to go into. It's finding something that isn't directly about your product and services and isn't directly about selling your business, but it is positively associated that will enable an interaction with the buyer before they even know they're a buyer. So you take two brothers, Italian, Mario and Luigi. They're both 30. They're twins. And they both own Italian pizzerias on Battersea High Street. So they're in competition, they hate each other's guts, and they basically have exactly the same pizzerias in Battersea High Street. And Mario has come to a PR agency and says, well, how can I be different? How can I be unique when I've got my own brother serving the same food on the same street? And so he needs to find something that is relevant to his business, but interesting enough for the press. So the first thing we do is we analyze all of the press. We analyze to see what stories are running, and it's very simple. You just go to Google News, you type in pizza, you type in Italian, you type in Italian food, you type in small food entrepreneur, and then you start seeing traction in certain news stories that are running and that are being consistently run in top 10 newspapers. By looking at, we come across something called the slow food movement. The first thing we would advise Mario to do is to walk the talk. So open up your refrigerator, sack all of your suppliers who give you frozen food from Indus or wherever they get it from, and just start sourcing organically and making sure that you live the principles. Then luck would have it, the Horsemeat Scandal. Now that is a PR gold, because all of a sudden you've got horse meat everywhere. You've got scandal, you've got front page. So this is the time you go and you contact all of the press and you say, right, horse scandal, here's a local business guy. And so what our friend Mario does is when the horse scandal breaks, he's everywhere. He's on the BBC, he's on the radio, he's on BBC Radio 4, he's calling up his mama in Italy saying, look, mama, I'm famous. His brother is just seething with resentment. He then gets op-eds, he starts writing to the Guardian, says, you know what, I can actually write an op-ed. I was featured in BBC and Radio 4, and I can write an op-ed on this, and this is the reasons why. Then what he does, then you go one step further. You contact the slow food movement in Italy, and he said, you know what, I'm so passionate about what you're doing. You don't have a UK representative. Can I be the UK representative? Can I be your go-to person for it? They're delighted because they've seen all the press that's come. He's proactive. If you're consistent about this, and this takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of resources, and I'm not arguing that this is a difficult thing to do, but if you're consistent about it, then what will happen is that you'll start reaching this tipping point where you'll start having this tumbleweed phase. And this is this magical PR moment when it's less about push, i.e. us pushing it out to the press. It's more about magnetism and more about pull. He could perhaps get bored of doing this and just outsource and say, you know what, Luigi, why don't you run my restaurant? Because actually, I'm going to go to America, and I've just been headhunted for a fantastic 4-part series of cooking pizzas in the middle of the Amazon forest, and I'm launching my own cookbooks, and so Luigi, you could just be my you could just run my restaurants. That's the story of Mario and Luigi, how you take an intrinsically a difficult business that's difficult to generate press, and you find a thought leadership positioning, and how powerful it could be if it's in conjunction with the general trends happening in the press that just require a bit of basic analysis and just some news tracking. But it's definitely something that, and this is the great thing about PR, is it is for small businesses, it is for startups. There's a lot of people that says PR is intangible, it's not suitable, it's a waste of money. One friend just said to me the other day, PR is all about blow drying your hair and wasting time with journalists. PR ironically has one of the worst reputations, considering we are all about reputation. I come from a small business background. I set up my first small business in 1999, which was a tax agency, and I've seen the power of PR for startups, for small businesses, if you use it wisely.
I'm in the business which is offering a service, and I was just wondering how you tackle that. Thank you.
Well, PR is about differentiation and showing why you're different from someone else and your competitors. And I think any professional service firm can do differentiation just as much as a product-based firm. And I think certainly if you look at the large professional service firms, they probably didn't used to spend a huge amount of money on marketing and PR 20 years ago, and they now spend a lot. If you look at the law firms, strategy consultancies, they're all trying to differentiate themselves and point to their different strengths, and they all have large PR departments to differentiate themselves. So I think it is about finding out what are the differentiating factors, and finding out it actually can be easier when you're running a service to do the sort of thought leadership that Farzana was talking about. And actually, things like the McKinsey Quarterly, I would say, is a fantastic piece of thought leadership. It's one of the original pieces of thought leadership where they just position themselves as a very smart bunch of people who have write very interesting articles and can get who they want to write in their publication, which is a very great differentiating piece of marketing.
So there's a lot of change on the PR industry. So I just wonder, is there any trend or gap that we should be looking for, particularly for 2013?
So it isn't a one-size-fits-all. Like the previous question was, how do you know which marketing, what sort of marketing mix to choose? Everything is very individual, and there's no getting away from the actual hard work of sitting down and thinking about your own business, about what the marketing assets are of your business. So, for instance, if you have very interesting clients or projects, then it's a good idea to go for awards and award submissions, which are very time-consuming. If you are a very good speaker, go for the speaker opportunities. If there's something very inherently newsworthy, spend on media relations. If your target audience is very social media savvy, then you should be focusing. And each different marketing platform should have its own messages. So you're not going to get a 10 steps to marketing genius. You have to actually do the harder work and sit and think about your own business and think about what your assets are and think about your audience, because there's no shortcuts to it. And I think you can't skip the research and the intelligence and the formulating strategy part that is bespoke to you as an individual, as a business, and in your market. You can't go straight to execution. So you're not going to find an easy 10 steps. And if you've got dozens of marketing books that tells you 10 steps, but actually each and every client that walks through agency doors is individual, and a good agency creates bespoke programs, not cookie cutter programs, because that is a waste of everybody's time.
I think the nature of what PR companies is selling is changing, in that I think we used to be selling connections, and we were selling, there's someone with a product or a problem that they needed to communicate about, and then there were the journalists who used to write about it, and then there were the PR companies in the middle who sort of could introduce one to the other, and they spent they made their sell because they went out drinking with the journalists and they knew them, and they came around for dinner and they knew them, and they knew who to introduce people to, and they made that happen, and they made the connections, and they may have helped to advise the client about exactly what to say to the journalist, but really it was about an introduction. And I think that model of PR is going and dying and doesn't really exist, and I don't think we're selling connections anymore. I think we're doing something more interesting, actually, and better for the liver, which is actually helping the clients work out what their message is, and actually creating our own content. If you look at news journalism, is in real trouble. It's not a great profession to go into. It's many fewer of them. People are owning their own content. People are communicating directly with the audiences they want to communicate to. The media is one declining channel of many other channels, and what communications professionals are doing is more like what journalists used to be doing, which is crafting the story, creating the content, and helping clients with interesting things to say them in an effective way, and through largely digital channels now. Everything we do is about digital communication, really. It's not really about, I know this bloke on the Daily Mail or on the Guardian. So that's a fundamental change for the industry.
If I can just follow up on what Tim was saying, it is true that PR agencies now are trying to create the story for the journalist and create a spin, and that's something that I personally didn't like. So when I went to see a PR agency for myself, one of the things they told me is take one of the biggest entrepreneurs that you know, like a Richard Branson, and criticize him, and we'll get you in the press. And I looked at them and I was like, who the hell am I to criticize a Richard Branson or anyone like that? And straight away kind of blocked. And now, same story, there was one of the Wire staff tried to steal one of the guys in my team, which is a massive, like if you go into PR, they're an accelerator, they're supposed to help startups, and they're actually trying to steal your staff. So we can make a massive PR spin around that, and actually we're not going to do it just because I don't want the ethos of my company to be kind of, oh, Wire did this to us, and da-da-da. And it's not the kind of like the strategy or the philosophy of my business, and that's why I'm not going to take advantage of it. So make sure that when the PR agency comes to you with a proposal, that you're comfortable with it and comfortable with the way it's going to be like presented, because once it's out there, you can't do anything about it.
interesting actually. It's kind of nice to have a few varied speakers. So you've got obviously the political point of view, someone who's obviously worked with kind of small entrepreneurial companies, and then also an entrepreneur themselves. So yeah, it's really interesting.
Good. So
From my experience of setting up the Entrepreneurial Society, I realize a lot of people are scared of venturing themselves, and they don't realize that actually it's not that hard, and you can just try, and you can set up a company in literally 24 hours and start trading. So I think this kind of event really shows young people and the new generation and the creative generation that it's to anyone's hand, and anyone can be an entrepreneur and anyone can create if they really put their mind to it.
And I think speaking to other people who've done it, speaking to especially people who've failed, is really the best thing about it. I think, because I think you've got to have the confidence to fail. You've got to have the feeling that there are people who've gone out there, failed, and still gone on and to being a success. It's not the end of their lives. They've tried an idea and it didn't work, but they're now on to another one and it is working.
It's got so much more inspiration than just reading an article or reading their biography. So I think getting face-to-face time with these people, listening to them in person, looking at them brimming with energy, being able to ask them questions, and just having that exposure to them on a human-to-human level, I think is tremendously important. And I think we should be having this every day.
Fantastic panel, amazing questions, and was very well pinpointed on huge variety of points. I really enjoyed it.